Hey guys, and welcome back to yet another deep dive into the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Today we delve into some of the craziest Harry Potter theories of all time, so grab your wands and let's get started. One of the perhaps funniest Harry Potter theories that I have heard of to this date must be the one concerning Dumbledore and Ron Weasley, or more precisely, the one describing how Dumbledore is supposedly time-traveling Ron Weasley. I know this sounds crazy right from the get-go, but let us dive a bit into the theory and see why some people believe this to be the case. On the surface, Dumbledore and Ron Weasley don't seem to share too many similarities. One of them was one of the perhaps most powerful wizards of all time, the other a student who barely tried during classes. The logistics of the theory are a little murky, but it suggests that Ron lived out his life and then travelled back in time as Dumbledore in order to serve as mentor to Harry in his new life. Quite how he would manage to do such a thing is up for debate. There is some belief that one would have been trapped in his own past by accident after using a time turner wrongly and going back too far. And there's an alternative line of thinking that suggests that Dumbledore used probably dark magic to bring his memories to life through Ron, in the way Voldemort tried to use Tom Riddle's diary to manifest himself from the slither of his soul hidden in the Horcrux. Furthermore, the theory builds upon the similarities of Ron and Dumbledore, like their sweet tooth, and how Dumbledore would often know things that aren't necessarily gathered through the situation, but somehow he knows anyways. The way he can manipulate people and make intricate plans that almost predicts the future is also a factor in this theory, as it would seem that only a person who knows what will happen can predict it. Obviously, this theory is far-fetched, and to my knowledge already has been debunked. If it hasn't, then I'd be happy to debunk it in a future video. Nevertheless, it is fun to see what could have been if Rowling had decided to go a different direction with this series. And it is always fun to hear some of the crazy theories from Harry Potter fans around the world. Next up, we have another crazy theory about Dumbledore. This theory states not that he's Ron Weasley, but instead a more abstract figure, Death. We all know the tale of the three brothers from the Harry Potter series, but a quick recap for those a bit fuzzy on this subject. The tale is about three brothers who defied death, and due to this, each of them is presented with a gift from death, who together is known as the Deathly Hallows, the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak. Since Dumbledore has at one point or another owned all three of the Deathly Hallows, he wielded the Elder Wand through most of the series, he held onto the Invisibility Cloak for Harry until he was ready to receive it, and the Resurrection Stone, which he had hidden inside the Golden Snitch, which he gave to Harry upon his death. The fact that Dumbledore had in possession all three of the Deathly Hallows made him the Master of Death, and when Harry Potter died in the last installment of the series, he's greeted by an old friend, Dumbledore. Just like when the original owner of the Invisibility Cloak passed, he greeted death as friends. It is therefore believed by some that the fact that Harry is greeted by Dumbledore when he dies, together with the fact that he owned the three Deathly Hallows, is enough evidence to conclude that Dumbledore is death himself. Again, this is another crazy theory with a lot of holes in it. If it hasn't already been debunked, I would be happy to do it in a future video. However, make sure to let me know your own thoughts on this theory in the comments. Also, if you haven't already, do consider subscribing to the channel, it would truly mean the world to me. With that said, let us move on to the last crazy theory of this video. This last theory is perhaps the craziest and most ridiculous fan theory I have ever heard of. It has very little backing whatsoever, but it's just too hilarious to not include in the craziest and funniest fan theories of all time. This theory is about Dobby, the free house elf that eventually laid down his life to protect his friend Harry Potter. This theory suggests that Dobby was in fact a secret agent for the Ministry of Magic. Yes, I know, this sounds ridiculous, and it is, but let us delve a bit into the limited facts about this theory. This theory suggests that Dobby's seemingly advanced knowledge of Wizarding World events, rules, and magical locations goes beyond what a typical house elf would know. He often provides Harry with advice and warnings that seem oddly specific. Dobby's interventions, such as sealing the barrier to Platform 9 3/4 to prevent Harry from returning to Hogwarts, are seen as strategically timed actions to influence Harry's circumstances. Furthermore, in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Dobby assists Harry and his friend in escaping the Malfoy Manor. This theory suggests that Dobby's sacrifice and sudden appearance to rescue the captives were part of a larger plan orchestrated by the Ministry of Magic. Also, the theory proposes that Dobby's presence in the trio's lives was intended to serve as a form of surveillance. By appearing and disappearing at strategic moments, Dobby could gather information about their activities and report back to the Ministry. And lastly, the theory suggests that Dobby's involvement with the trio also served the purpose of promoting the cause of House Elf liberation. By witnessing his mistreatment and advocating for his freedom, Harry and his friends unwittingly became spokespeople for the Ministry's agenda. Obviously, there are so many things working against this theory. For instance, Dobby always seems quite emotionally involved in the trio's health and makes sure no harm would come to the wizard who made him free, and these emotional connections don't support the thought of him being an agent. Obviously, many other things oppose the theory, but we don't have time to go through them all today. Nevertheless, make sure to leave your thoughts on the theories and let me know which theory was your favorite in the comments. And finally, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more Harry Potter content. Until next time, may your magic shine brightly.